My esteemed friends, this is Nintendo's America as it was built in the year 1996 for the game Pilotwings 64. And while many of the places and landmarks are familiar to all, like Mount Rushmore or the old New York City skyline, others leave more room for the imagination. Like, what exactly is this airport outside of New York City? What's this nuclear power plant? What's this observatory? And what is going on with Texas? These might seem like unusual questions to ponder about a video game. However, the vast majority of places and landmarks on this legendary map, the Little States map in Pilotwings 64, are generally located correctly and make intuitive sense. For example, on the West Coast, we can see representations of Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Seattle. We can travel from the St. Louis Arch, head north, and find Chicago. But like, is this nuclear power plant supposed to be some famous, iconic landmark? Or these observatories somewhere kind of in Wyoming? Why do some things in this game make sense while others don't? I know, it's a video game, but these are just some of the mysteries or oddities that we will be exploring today. Places that were put into this remarkable game and map that just makes me wonder exactly what is going on here. So buckle up, get on your geography hat, pour yourself a warm beverage, or cold beverage if you prefer, because today we will ponder the mysteries, strange places, and oddities of this remarkable map, the Little States, Nintendo's America. Here we go.
Here we go!
Let's start near New York, which I know is always one of the most eye-catching views in the game, with the beautiful pair of towers as they were in 1996. And I've discussed those before in their own video, so this time we're going to head a little north of New York City to this airport or airstrip. We even have to cross a bridge to get there. In previous ponderings about this area of the map, many have asked if there are any other towns or cities outside of New York, cities like Boston or Philadelphia, and the answer is that there is not. In fact, the entire east coast of this map basically features three main areas or landmarks. There's New York City, Washington, D.C., and then Florida, represented by the Cape Canaveral Space Force Base. So these representations of these locations are pretty clear and obvious. Well, there's one or two others, but we'll get to those. There isn't any Boston or Philadelphia, other big cities in this area. And I mean, what could they really have put to represent Boston or Philly, for example? I guess Philly could have had the Liberty Bell and the Rocky Stairs, but Boston, I feel like Harvard isn't really distinctive enough looking to stand out in a low-poly 64-bit environment, and I know it's not even technically in Boston proper. So this all raises one question. What is this airport north of New York City supposed to be as the only thing in this area outside of New York? Now, the conventional answer is that it's supposed to be nothing, and trust me, that's not the answer for other places we'll talk about in this video, like the observatory or nuclear power plant, which are clearly supposed to be something, but what's the deal with this airport? Now, in the game, on all four stages, there are these sorts of airstrips that are indeed strewn throughout the stage, as they're featured in various missions, especially with the gyrocopter, where you usually have to take off, do something, and then land as straight and softly as possible. So in all likelihood, the developers just didn't have anything to put here and placed in an airstrip. Sure, but I think it's funny to ponder what airport it could be, and particularly because if we zoom out and look at New York City's location and compare to a real-world map, we'll notice that the location of this airport does not match that of the three main New York City airports. JFK is slightly southeast, LaGuardia is really due east of Manhattan, and Newark is to the west of the southern tip of Manhattan, over in New Jersey. But what airport is located a little northwest of New York City? Well, the best match I could find is Teterboro Airport, an airport mostly servicing private and corporate flights around New York City. Maybe my New York and New Jersey viewers will know this more and can provide some more insight, but the idea of Pilotwings developers including Teterboro Airport into the game rather than JFK or LaGuardia is just very funny to me. I don't know, just one of those silly things that really gets me both laughing and pondering. And yeah, there's this one bridge leaving the Manhattan Island north. I guess it's the Henry Hudson Bridge. Pretty funny stuff. Alright, that's enough of that, but believe me, this is not the last airport or thing we'll investigate today, nor the last strange location. Let's travel down the coast a little bit, south past Washington, D.C., but before we reach Florida. Right here, we stop at this nuclear power plant. If we zoom out, it looks to be somewhere around North Carolina. Now, I searched up a map of all the nuclear power plants in the United States, which will hopefully only get me on a nuclear nerd list and not anything else. And what I found is that, there are a lot of nuclear power plants up and down the East Coast, at least a notable handful. But the thing is, there's not any one in particular that stands out as more notable than the others. I mean, if we had to pick a most notable nuclear plant in America, it would probably be like 3 Mile Island, right? And that's up in Pennsylvania. So that's clearly not this. And so this raises the question, what is this nuclear power plant supposed to be? Like, of all the things the creators of this map could have included in this area between Washington, D.C. and Florida, why did they pick this? They could have picked anything or nothing at all. I mean, there's plenty of space on this map where they didn't put in anything, just the green tops of trees. So this choice of a nuclear power plant is very much intentional. Why did they do it? What were they going for? Well, I sat and pondered this for quite some time, I mean, as one would expect to do, and the best I could come up with was this. Most places on the map are some kind of landmark, or at least some reference to America and Americana. So could this nuclear power plant be a reference to The Simpsons? A traditionally American show. It does look similar-ish with the 2 cooling towers and the building out front and the parking lot and all. I mean, that's my best guess. I know this isn't really a mystery, but it's certainly an oddity in a strange place. A quirk of the development as to why this particular structure was placed here. It's very intentional, but it doesn't seem to represent anything in particular, so your mind can only ponder exactly what it's supposed to be. One more funny thing about the nuclear power plant. So in the game as a whole, and even on this map, there are a few places where you can get burnt or singed by flames. The Statue of Liberty's flame, there are a number of oil refineries to be found off the coast, drill baby drill, and they have flames which you can fly through. You'll hear your character sometimes scream in agony or at least get a bit crisp and singed by the flames, yet you can just stand on top of the nuclear cooling tower with no problem. I mean, look, I'm no nuclear engineer, but I can't imagine it's all that cool of a spot to hang out, so that's a funny quirk as well, no doubt about that. Alright, now let's travel down to Texas. I've mentioned this small western town before, which is cool and cute. A lot of funny buildings and even these crazy gallows here. But the thing is, it's actually the whole of Texas that is very strange, and we can find this when we zoom out on the map. Like, look at this map of the USA. It all looks pretty decent in the right shape, all things considered. It's early, primitive 3D. The game literally released alongside Super Mario 64 as a launch title for the N64, and the map looks to be mostly the correct shape of the United States of America, with one exception: Texas. Like, what is this shape of Texas? Now here's what's crazy. This game was really a collaboration between 2 parties. Nintendo themselves and Paradigm Simulation, who were originally a 3D computer graphics company, and then slowly shifted into video games, especially vehicle simulation games, like cars and flying vehicles, flight simulators. So Paradigm Simulation were the perfect partner for Nintendo to work on in this game. Now here's the thing, Paradigm Simulation were based out of Texas. Like, this has to be an in-joke of some kind. Honestly, like, why else would they make Texas so messed up? Yeah, there's a lot of cool cliffs and waterfalls down here, but they could easily have made these while also maintaining the general shape integrity of Texas as a state. And like, Texas has got to be one of the more iconically shaped states as well, right? I don't know, this has just bothered me from the moment I played this game and explored the stage. It's just too strange and unusual. Paradigm, what did you do to Texas? Apparently there's also this kind of urban legend that apparently, as the legend goes, Nintendo sent over some guys from Japan to America, particularly Texas, to both explore for inspiration and go meet up with the guys from Paradigm Simulation. I guess due to the unfamiliar Texas roadways, the Japanese developers ended up wrecking 3 rental cars while over in America. Now that's some pretty remarkable stuff. The Observatories. Next up we have the Observatories, a very interesting decision by the map creators. They're located somewhere around like eastern Oregon or Washington, Idaho, Wyoming. Are there any famous observatories there? When I think of the most famous observatory in America, I think of the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles. But this one is actually in between the Hollywood sign and core Los Angeles, so it should be right around here instead. Perhaps this served as the inspiration for the observatories up here, but they're way deeper into America to an extent that just can't be ignored. I guess my question is like, why observatories? As much as the question is why here? Perhaps they were just some models that Paradigm Simulation and Nintendo had ready and thought this was a cool spot to plop them in. One notable thing is that most landmarks or even roadside points of interest do have roads leading to them with clearly demarcated parking lots. This is true of the game's other maps as well. Perhaps this is something that stood out to the Japanese developers when they visited America, that everything has a parking lot. Nearby Mount Rushmore shows this very well. It's a shame there's no driving vehicle in the game. It would be so fun to just drive around here. Please, ROM hackers and modders, do something about this. Put Mario Kart into the little states here, would be epic. But yeah, there are no roads up to the observatories, making them all the more curious. There is still a parking lot somehow way up in the mountains or hills atop this set of steps, so that's funny, but no way to drive up here, disconnected from the roadway geography of the map. Looking at it all from above, it's just like, why choose to do this at all? This could just as easily have been left empty, like all the land surrounding it. So the choice to add in these seemingly random observatories with no connection to famous real-world observatories just makes us all the more curious. Why not something more to do with like Yellowstone National Park, which seems to be right around where these are placed? Alas, perhaps we'll never know why these observatories were placed here on the little state's map. Another quick odd one is this lighthouse down on the southern coast of the map. I'm sure there are some lighthouses down here in the Gulf Coast, but I feel New England is much more known for these. Also, there are some way better lighthouses with more details on the game's other maps, making this just such a little side thing. It's so interesting where exactly they decide to fill in this map with stuff like this, and where they just decide to let it be with natural grass, forest, and hills. Also, if we go a little northwest from here, I tried talking myself into thinking this airport could be the Colorado-Denver International Airport. You know, the very infamous one with a lot of theories abound. I just can't bring myself to earnestly suggest this, however. It is the largest airport on the map by quite some distance, with a big hangar and everything, and the Denver airport is notoriously huge, but I feel like there would be maybe one or two more direct nods if it were supposed to represent an exact airport like Denver, for example. You know, maybe that weird horse statue thing. The airport only opened in 1995, and the game came out in 1996, so maybe it wasn't all that filled in by the time the map was complete. Who knows? One more curiosity I want to point out today is this one thing on the Canadian-American border that you just can't go a geography video without talking about. Do you see it? Look at what's jutting up around Minnesota where Lake Superior would be. And on a real map of the USA and Canada, there is indeed this strange jut which extends past the 49th line of parallel, the traditional and official border between most of Canada and the USA. It's called the Northwest Angle, and is a curiosity of real-world geography, where the border was drawn to include the Lake of the Woods. But the lake itself shifted over time, thus resulting in this strange land extension into Canada. Like, clearly this is what this section has to be. It's not to scale, of course, but it's clearly there. And it's just even more amazing now to consider that they included the Northwest Angle, but messed up Texas completely. Now that, my friends, is something funny to ponder. Well, there you go, some curiosities of the Little States map. Honestly, this map has really intrigued me from the moment I first played it a few years ago. If you have any fond memories playing this map or game, please comment below. I would also love to see some ROM hack of this, like imagine GoldenEye multiplayer on this map, or even like some kind of Battle Royale GoldenEye style on this map. It would be so insane and amazing. Please someone make this game. I'll leave it at that for now, my friends. A huge thanks to you for watching, to the Patreon supporters and channel members for all of your support of my work. Stay true, my friends, and I will see you in the next stream or video.